Hello, gamers! Welcome to the Season 1 Detailed Rivals tier list. Over the next few hours, I will be talking about every single playable character in Marvel Rivals. Dependencies on maps, dependencies on other characters for their team-ups, game modes, why you should and why you should not play them in the Season 1 meta. There are timestamps in the video if you want to hear my thoughts on a specific character. Please, I strongly encourage you to, please watch at least some of it before complaining in the comments about where I've ranked people. But if you are the type of person that would just yappa in my comments without watching any of the video, feel free. Here is the full tier list. Now, I know this looks bad, but I want to start off saying that even the characters ranked lowest in the tier list have a niche to fill in this game. Being at the bottom doesn't mean I think they're bad. It just means that whatever the characters do, whatever they're designed to do, whatever role they fill, there is already another character that just kind of does it better than them, or does it more consistently than them. But without any further delay, let's start off with the top of the tier list, Luna Snow. So, Luna Snow is ridiculous. She is incredibly powerful. She's got a great kit. She's got an even better ultimate. Insane healing, insane damage. She does everything, right? I think Luna Snow at the moment is the only character in Marvel Rivals that is a pick ban, which means if they aren't banned and you don't pick them, you're kind of throwing. She's that powerful. I think she is the only character like this currently. Now, the reason she's so good, right, is how versatile she is, how easily she fits into every single team comp in the game. She's got great heal over time. She's got great critical save heal. She has a CC that can immobilize any enemy for 3.5 seconds, can cancel ultimates. She's got an AoE heal with her clap. She's got self-sustain with her shift. She can heal and damage at the same time with the pierce from her shift. She's got a defensive ultimate that can be used to shut down most DPS ultimates in the game. On top of all of that, you can move in the ultimate, right? Most other support ultimates are immobile, but Luna Snow can move around the map with her defensive ultimate, which means that you can be aggressive with it as well. You can use it in your spawn and push your entire team to first point, and it will still be going. It lasts 12 seconds. It lasts 12 seconds. It lasts a ridiculously long time. That is why Luna Snow is at the top of this tier list. She's not map dependent. You can play her on attack. You can play her on defense. You can play her on convergence, domination, convoy, all of the maps. She's just got everything going for her. And there's really never a reason to pick any other support instead of her. I think the only bad thing about Luna Snow is that she does get banned somewhat consistently. And so if you one-trick her, you're going to struggle when you hit Diamond. Your one-trick pony shenanigans might not slide and people will start banning Luna Snow. But like, that's it, dude. Like that's her only flaw. That's the worst part about her. If you're looking for a support to one-trick, if you want to learn a support, please learn Luna Snow. She's absolutely insane. Best character in the game. And moving on to the second spot, Doctor Strange. So this is maybe a little bit of a hot take already. Doctor Strange being the second best character in the game. But the reason I have him so high is because there's no tank that even comes close to his versatility and utility. He can be played on any map. There's no dependency, right? The Hulk team up is nice, but it's not a must-have. He's still very powerful without it. He's got incredible self-sustain with his shield. He's got incredible team utility with his shield. He's got vertical mobility, so he can challenge flyers, which are quite prevalent in the meta. His ultimate can shut down triple support if you use it smart enough, right? Your Maelstrom of Madness can one-shot through support ultimates if it's on 100 charge, which makes it incredibly valuable. You know, if Mantis pops ult or Cloak pops ult, You just jump in there, you click Q, everyone is full HP, and they just explode. So that's very nice. He's got incredible single point damage, right? He's got a one-shot combo with a time to kill of like 1.5 seconds off cooldown of your Maelstrom. He's got AoE damage with the Maelstrom. You know, he can hit multiple enemies all at once. And even after being nerfed, the shield still regenerates incredibly quickly. 70 HP per second, by the way, is it's like having a rocket, right? Your shield regenerates as if there's a rocket shooting healing orbs at you, and you know how annoying that can be. So his shield is, even after the nerfs, incredibly strong still. And we need to talk a little bit about the portals, because there is so much you can do. You can flank, you can ult through them, you can shoot through them, you can recontest. Even if you're not playing Strange, you can swap to Strange out of spawn if you've died, and come back in seconds with your entire team with a portal. Like, even when you're not playing him, this character gets value. And so putting him in the same tier as other tanks just feels wrong. An argument could be made that he could be bottom of S tier, maybe top of A+, but I think compared to average performance of the other tanks and other characters on this list, Doctor Strange is far too useful to consider any lower. The only bad thing about this character that I can currently think of is he's a little bit limited by range, but considering Brawl is far and away the most prevalent composition at the moment, that doesn't really matter with the meta. He's a little bit slow, and he doesn't have great survivability against a Wolverine, which is his worst matchup. But Wolverine gets banned a fair amount, and mobility isn't really an issue when you've got a big health pool and a big shield. You can just walk down the enemy, right? It doesn't matter if you take a little bit of damage. It doesn't matter if the enemy are trying to back up. You know, you create space, and that's your job as a tank. So easy S tier, although an argument could be made that he should be lower, and that's why the variance is on screen right now. But I'm gonna leave him where he is, and you can argue with me in the comments. Cloak and Dagger. This character was already really good in Season 0, and they gave her 2 ridiculous buffs. Okay, absolutely insane buffs, right? So number 1, 3 buffs, sorry, pardon me, three buffs. She swaps between Cloak and Dagger much faster now, which reloads your ammo when you're doing it, and is now faster to swap between the 2 characters rather than reloading your primary fire, which is stupid, but it's a thing. Her healing bubble got a cooldown reduction, which means you can use it more often, which is a very, very, very valuable ability. And her ultimate, Eternal Bond, got probably the biggest buff of the season. Instead of 3 dashes, it now gets 4 dashes. Each streak across the floor does 220 healing per second. That is ridiculous! I'm sure you've seen clips of people using a cloak ult over itself 3 times, and 2 punishers in ultimate are not able to kill it. You can now have 3 punishers not able to kill a character who's standing in 4 streaks of cloaks ultimate. And it's not just the increased healing or the added range of the ultimate that got changed. The duration has been changed. So each streak takes 2 seconds to cast. You go, us against the world, and then you go, and then it's 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's not quite accurate, but it's 2 seconds in between dashes, right? Including the time to dash. So the ultimate lasts an extra 2 seconds. It already lasted 16 seconds, right? Each streak lasts for 10 seconds on the floor. So it was dash, and then the 10-second timer would start, dash, 10-second timer would start on that one. So it used to last 16 seconds. And now it lasts 18 seconds. 18 seconds for basically invulnerability on an objective is absurd. Okay, and this is just talking about Cloak's ultimate, right? She's got a damage boost with her the E on Cloak, right? They've got decent 1v1 and sustain with the bubbles and the blind and Cloak's damage. They have a invulnerability for the entire team with right mouse whilst in Cloak. The utility is ridiculous. The ultimate is insane. The healing for Dagger's primary fire tracks enemies. It has the best range of any support in the game, apart from Luna. It does AoE on impact, so you can heal yourself with it. You can heal your entire team. It makes the ultimate charge incredibly quickly, so it's ready every single fight. She's busted. She was already a A+ to S tier character before the buffs, and is now just even better. Is now the second best support in the game. The only thing keeping her below Luna Snow, only two things I should say, is that her ultimate isn't mobile. So if it's all on the floor and the team just sort of backs up and gives you space, you can't use it to then chase them down like you can with Luna Snow's ultimate. And also she doesn't have CC, so she's easier, not saying she's easy to dive and kill, but she's easier to deal with than Luna because she doesn't have that stun, but still absolutely insane. And the only bad thing about Cloak is that no one fucking knows how to play her. Everyone is really bad at her, and people make mistakes quite often, but that is not something that you can rely on in your matches. Other than that, she's quite easy to kill off cooldown. If she doesn't have her bubble, or if she's already used her disengage, her right mouse for Cloak, then she's a lot easier to kill than some of the other supports. She's quite immobile. But, you know, you might end up pushing her and she just goes, "That's against the world," and runs away. Like, she's tricky to play against. She's very, very powerful. Also, if I'm not mistaken, the most played support. So, clearly a much enjoyed character, much beloved character, and totally not because no one knows how to aim yet. The newcomer, Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman. Again, absolutely ridiculous. If you weren't aware already, the current season 1 meta is ass. It's triple support. Nothing dies. Nothing dies. It's amazing. It's like Overwatch goats all over again. Nothing dies. Team fights last incredibly long until people get ultimates and start hitting Q. And then when you do start hitting Q, Susan Storm just goes, "Disappear!" And then nothing dies. So, again, very powerful support. Charges ult incredibly quickly. And ultimate is really powerful. So, her strengths. She's got AoE healing, right? She can heal multiple teammates if they're stacked on top of each other. She can heal and damage simultaneously with the the boomerang on her primary fire. She can send out a shot, heal a teammate in front of her, damage an enemy in front of that teammate, damage that enemy again on the return, and heal the teammate again on the return. Which means her ultimate charges insanely quickly. You're doing damage, you're doing healing, you're farming twice as much ult energy. Her kit can be used to shut down some of the most powerful and popular characters right now, right? So her pull or her push, number one, that makes Wolverine drop someone he's tackled. So if you're playing in the front line with your tanks and one of them gets tackled, which is basically a death sentence, your push will force Wolverine to drop the character so they can safely disengage. Your shift prevents Wolverine from picking someone up. so you can put the bubble on one of your teammates, right? The shift also knocks down Storm and Iron Man, who are very prevalent in the meta. The shift discourages characters like Black Panther or Psylocke from getting too close to you. The push can knock away flankers out of their effective range. Very, very versatile kit. Very useful at dealing with a lot of the current favorite characters. And again, zero reliancy or dependability on other characters. Just all around solid, very, very good character. I think what you need to be careful with is to get her full value, you want to be playing aggressively. You want to be playing with your front line so that you can get the damage and you can get the healing. But the problem is she doesn't have a very safe engage. So if your tank line makes a mistake, you can be left out to dry very, very easily. Because the jump is nice, but it's very predictable. You get enemies get a visual marker for the direction that you jump in. It's also very easy to knock you out of your stealth. So and you're also very loud whilst moving around. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword how you play her, right? Very, very dangerous, doesn't have a safe disengage, but very powerful. And her shield does AoE healing. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Her right mouse, it's AoE healing. It's 300 HP on a 6-second cooldown, which is, you know, very, very powerful. And it does AoE healing, right? So you can use it on flankers to have, so they can have a safe space to return to heal, so they don't need to play medkits, and you can just leave it there, right? And then your flankers have somewhere to return to. You can put it on a flying character, so they've got some extra cover in the sky that also heals them. You can put it around a corner, so you've got somewhere to fall back to if you need a little bit of extra healing mid-fight. Very, very useful ability, very versatile. And again, the ultimate shuts down pretty much every offensive ult in the game, apart from one combo that we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, very, very powerful character. Speaking of the 3 support meta, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these ultimates got massive, massive nerfs. Be interesting to see how that changes up the tier list. But for right now, he's undoubtedly one of the best characters in the game. And moving on to the rising star, the character that was genuinely ranked bottom of every single tier list in Season 0, and is now consistently considered the strongest DPS in the game. We have Storm. And Storm is ridiculous. She does so much damage. And it's not even the damage buff that makes her so powerful now. It's the projectile speed. It's that she can hit shots more reliably, and it's harder to react and move out of the way of her projectiles. Her damage was always and still is very, very, very good. Very few people can keep up with how much she deals. She's got great single point, low time to kill. She's got AoE with the pierce, right? All of her abilities pierce or do AoE. She's hit scan and projectile. She's got team utility, her E. Team utility. You can speed boost, right? You can ferry people to and from spawns. You can damage boost your team, or you can auto attack enemies inside your radius every 2 seconds. Very, very powerful. The damage boost is nice as well. It's the same as Mantis damage boost, I'm pretty sure. And one of the reasons she's so good at the moment is because she has the fastest charging DPS ult. With the meta of everything being healed so quickly, people love stacking up and using AoE heals like Sue, like Cloak, to just keep everyone alive. So Storm charges ult really quickly. There's a clip of someone using a Storm ult, drawing out support ultimates, and staying in the fight, and within 30 seconds has another ultimate. She's absolutely insane. There's a theme with the very powerful DPS right now, where their ultimates will force a response. So you click Q, and either you guarantee some kills, or you force a enemy support to also use their ultimate. So Storm is the best at doing this. If you do not react to Storm's ultimate with a defensive ult, she will guarantee at least one kill every single time. And because it charges so fast, you'll usually be able to draw out one, maybe even two support ults, so that your other teammates have a chance to outcycle them, outcycle the defensive ultimates, and give you a shot at taking the lead in some matches. Now the only thing is, this ult is kind of risky. If you do not manage to secure some kills with the Storm ultimate, you will be quite out of position. You will need to communicate with your team, or to just disengage if you know that you're not going to get any kills, so that you don't get jumped the second your ultimate ends. You can be killed through your ultimate, so just be a little bit aware of that. And other than that, just the general low mobility is a bit of a weak point for Storm. You want to play as close to the ground with your team as possible so that you don't get picked, because Namor and Hela are still very, very prevalent and still very good at taking out flyers. And so she's a bit of an easy target for those characters if you're not playing smart around cover or with your team. And the other thing is, she gets banned, right? I think she's the DPS that gets the most banned out of most of my matches, which means that you're not really able to play her as much. But when she isn't banned, Jesus Christ, this character shreds. Absolutely demolishes. I've finished games with 90,000 damage in competitive on Storm. 90,000. Insane. Absolutely ridiculous. Well deserving of the top spot. And close behind her in a second spot is Starlord. This, again, might be a hot take, but the reason I've got Starlord so high is because, first of all, very, very, very low time to kill if you're good at tracking, good at aiming, right? You can one burst most characters in the game. His right mouse, his secondary fire, the iframes and the reload let you stay in a fight for a really, really long time. He's got great mobility, one of the best DPS mobilities in the game, behind Spider-Man. He's got iframes with his reload as well. He can dodge every single ultimate in the game. He can block any instance of damage just by you know, doing a somersault, which is very, very powerful. His 1v1 potential is pretty much unmatched with his kit, right? It doesn't matter what the character is, Starlord is going to have an edge over any other character. And he's hit scan. Hit scan is typically easier to play than projectile. So he has that edge over Storm, which might make him a little bit better. And also the fact that he doesn't really get banned might make him a little bit better than Storm. Occasionally. Not all the time, but there is potential there, right? And because he's got such high mobility, he can be really annoying in a backline, right? You don't need to rely on your teammates that much. You can kind of leave your 5-stack to do their thing, and you can just zip around the backline, right? Take quick engages, go for some 1-clips, and then just run away, grab a health kit, and come back. And just constantly keep the enemy support's attention away from the rest of their team. And that's enough. That you don't necessarily need to secure the kills, even though he's very capable of doing it. That's more than enough to draw out value and to force out cooldowns and stuff like that. And that's why he's so powerful. And also, again, in the same way that Storm does, his ultimate forces out support ultimates. You have to respond. There's really no reliable way to block Starlord's ultimate apart from Magneto. But even then, that is still forcing out an ultimate, right? So it forces a response. It does insane damage. if teams are a little bit too spread out, you might even end up forcing out multiple ultimates, right? So, very, very powerful. Ult charges very quickly. But he is still only effective at close range and is very easily countered by certain characters a little bit lower down on the tier list. So he might end up having a bit of a hard time against some of his unfavorable matchups. But in general, very powerful character. And also, if Adam Warlock was a little bit more viable this season, that passive, oh, dude, that passive would make him more of a threat than Storm, I think. Being able to play a little bit more aggressively without the risk of being removed from the fight would just make this character incredible. But as he is in the current meta, very, very powerful, worth a shot, very fun to play as well. If you want to climb, if you want to improve on DPS, if you want to pick up a new character, highly recommend either Starlord or the next character, Psylocke. I had a really tough time figuring out which character to rank above between Starlord and Psylocke. And I think really these two characters are quite interchangeable. They both do virtually the same thing, right? They're both flankers. They both have potential to brawl, right? To burst down tanks in the front line. They're both very mobile. They both do insane damage. And their ultimates also force out support ult. So very, very similar characters. But talking more specifically about Psylocke, her dashes are very, very quick. Very good ways to disengage. Her stealth is a very good way to get the drop on an enemy team without them properly knowing where you're coming from. You're quite loud whilst invisible, so people will know you're there, but might not necessarily know where you're going to be approaching from. Her time to kill is very, very low. She's got multiple combos that can one-shot burst the character before any healing reaches them in time. All of her cooldowns are reduced by hitting shots as well. So she's very good at staying in a fight. A lot of the problem with flankers or disruptors is that once they're out of cooldowns, they're very, very susceptible to just fucking dying, right? They have to disengage, or else they're probably gonna die, and then they have to wait for their cooldowns to come back. Psylocke doesn't have that same problem because she can just return to the front line with her tanks and shoot the tank, right? And then she gets her cooldowns off cooldown. She gets her cooldowns back. She can just keep tickling the front line and keep getting them back. The reason I ended up deciding that she should be lower than Starlord on average is because since her ultimate got nerfed, it's actually a little bit easier to counter without forcing out a support ultimate. So first of all, Loki's runes is one thing that completely shuts it down. The ultimate cannot target the rune, and so the ultimate cannot actually kill anyone standing in or near it. It now also targets shields. Shields are counted as a untargeted entity. And so Psylocke's ultimate will now include those. So talking Magneto's bubble, Hulk's bubble, Doctor Strange's shield. It will now include those in untargeted enemies, and it only hits 8 times. So if you have 2 shields, that's 300 damage that's just kind of going down the drain. And if it hits it twice, if it cycles badly and hits the shields twice, it's quite a lot easier to deal with than some of the other ultimates. And also the pathfinding is very, very strange. And you can get stuck quite easily on walls or objects. If you don't have line of sight to a character, you will not hit them despite them being in the radius. And this line of sight can be blocked by very, very weird things like trees. Even if you can see the character, like the payload, even if you can see the character. So it's a little bit jank, which is why I ended up putting her lower than Starlord. The other thing keeping Psylocke a little bit below Starlord is that she's a little bit more risky, right? She doesn't have the same mobility as Starlord. Her mobility is a little bit more predictable, and also she doesn't have the iframes. So a little bit easier to shut down. But regardless, very, very powerful character, absolutely deserving of a spot in the S tier. And moving on now into the next tier below S, we have Namor leading the A+. So this fish freak is single-handedly keeping back the dive meta. I'm surprised he's not banned as often as some other characters, because he is very, very annoying to play into. And just gets insane value from existing, right? He puts down turrets. These turrets cannot miss. It's guaranteed damage. A lot of the most played characters right now either struggle to take out his turrets from range or get shut down by his turrets at close range. I'm talking like Psylocke and Starlord. His turrets come back very, very quick. His primary fire reduces the cooldown on his turrets whenever he hits, which means that when you get good at aiming, you know, it's just gonna be perma uptime for your turrets. He's got to team up with the best character in the game, Luna Snow, that grants him an additional turret that has extra health and also slows, which is just disgusting to deal with. If you ever see Luna Snow not being banned, you will probably see a Namor in your match. And he's also got iframes. He has an ability that can block every single ultimate, that can block every single instance of damage, every single status effect, and also gives you vertical mobility. And because Namor can float, he can like glide, this ability gives him kind of like a natural high ground, right? You can use it, and then you can slowly fall back to the ground whilst also hitting the enemy backline above their shields, above their walls, whatever they might have in the way. And again, this ult will save this. Ability will save you from every single ultimate in the game. And speaking of ultimates, he's got a pretty good one. He's got a pretty good ultimate. The fish does 500 damage. The fish does 500 damage on the inner circle, which means that it will one-shot any support through that ultimate. It's instant damage. So Namor is very, very good at shutting down Luna Snow, Cloak and Dagger, Invisible Woman, even Mantis, right? The 500 instant damage is very, very, very powerful. And the AoE, if it doesn't kill, it also knocks people down, so it can be used outside of a support ultimate to secure multiple hits on an entire team. And gives your team such an easy time to just rush in and clean up if someone gets stunned. Although this isn't the best option for an AoE ultimate. So if you're playing Namor with the idea of bursting down and one-shotting multiple characters, multiple supports, and removing their ultimates from play, there are better options. There are better options, and that might not be the best way to use his kit. Namor is also considerably stronger. This is the first character that's a little bit map or objective dependent. Namor on defense is an absolute monster. He's basically immovable. But on attack, he struggles a little bit more to push through. He's really good at locking down an area, which isn't what you do unless you play really aggressively on attack. On domination, he's fine because it's a little bit hybrid of both. But in general, Namor suffers a little bit when he can't just sort of stand still. And also, playing him without the Lunar Snow team up means that your turrets won't have permanent uptime. So there will be opportunities for an enemy to engage you without having to worry about your squids. So a little bit more flawed compared to some of the characters ranked above him, but still a very, very solid pick. Please don't play him. He's really, really annoying. I'd really rather you didn't learn him if you're considering. Like, maybe we should just leave Namor in the ocean. We don't need more Namor mains. The character you can learn, however, is Mantis. Mantis is the support that benefits most from the triple support meta. There are lots of jokes about Mantis being a secret duelist, being an extra DPS, and with the triple support meta, like, she is an extra DPS that can damage boost her teammates. And she's basically Storm, really, if you really think about it. No, so that's not accurate. But with triple support, Mantis suddenly becomes one of the most valuable supports when she can focus on keeping everyone damage boosted rather than healing, and when she can focus on dealing damage herself rather than juggling multiple things to prioritize. She becomes an absolute monster. She's a little bit weaker than Snow, Cloak, and Sue because her ultimate is far and away the easiest defensive ult to kill through. A lot of characters can burst Mantis or burst enemies through her ultimate. It doesn't do nearly as much healing per second, but it's still nice to have as a aggressive support ultimate, one to use to engage and then rush people down. She got nerfed after season 0. She got her mobility reduced, which was actually huge for the character. She's still good and she's still fast, but before, when she was on full HP, she would move faster than a full sprint Captain America. And that's not the case anymore. She doesn't have nearly as safe a disengage, but she still has a CC, which is really, really good. She also still has a self-damage boost, so she can 1v1 most characters in the game and come out on top. But again, because her ultimate just isn't as powerful as the other supports, I don't feel comfortable rating her as highly. There is also the very real possibility that your team is not running triple support. Your team is running 2-2-2, or they're running 1-3-2. She's too reliant on having 2 supports on her team to be ranked higher. And actually, if she is played as the second support with only 2 supports, she's kind of bad. She's not that good. I would rather have a different second support, like a Rocket or a Loki, because she just struggles to keep people alive. The damage boost is still nice, but she really, really shines when she's able to just forget about healing and focus on the damage output. And we're finally getting to our second tank, Magneto. Again, I don't think this is that wasn't a Winter Soldier reference. I don't think this is a controversial pick. I feel like the tank tier list, at least for the top half, is very standard. I think most people would agree. Magneto, very, very, very solid, very capable of solo tanking without a Doctor Strange, even better duo tanking with a Doctor Strange. Has a shield that can technically eat infinite damage, right? It's a resource, it's a cooldown based shield rather than a resource based shield. So it will block anything. You know, it will block a theoretically infinite amount of damage. Very, very useful. He's got a bubble, which is really good. You can use the bubble on yourself. You can use it on a teammate that's engaging. You can use it on a teammate that's out of position. You can use it on the backline that are being dove. A very versatile ability. Gives someone an extra health bar, basically. The bubble has 300 HP. And he's just an all-around, very consistent presence. There isn't much that makes Magneto bad. Although there is a lot of potential for him to be a lot better. He's got a very powerful team up with Scarlet Witch, which replaces his primary fire with an absolutely absurd amount of damage. It makes him able to contest some of the strongest characters in the game. Although, like, it's a bit of a trade-off, right? Because Scarlet Witch is a little bit crap, but more on that later. Magneto's team-up damage is very, very nice. But even, to be honest, without it, his base damage is very, very good. He's got a little bit of CC with his secondary fire when it's got full charge. He can knock people back and stun them very briefly. It doesn't block ultimates or abilities, but it does immobilize them briefly. His primary fire does great damage. He's got a near one-shot combo with primary fire, secondary fire, primary fire, which does 240 damage. Very, very nice amount of damage. And his ultimate. Magneto's ultimate is a bit of a weird one. I feel like a lot of people were clowning on it at the start of the game's release. A lot of people were like, oh, you know, it's such an unserious ultimate. Fear, Magneto. And then he just throws a meatball at you and it just doesn't really do anything. No. This ultimate is really good. Magneto's ultimate will shut down pretty much every extremely powerful DPS ultimate, right? Shuts down Starlord. Shuts down Winter Soldier because he's not able to follow up. It shuts down Hela temporarily. It shuts down Iron Man. It shuts down Punisher. And then, as well as it being a really good defensive ult for your team, it absorbs all the projectiles. You then get a counterattack that can one-shot if it's placed on someone's head, right? You hear judge, jury, and then you use your ultimate and immediately full send a full damage meatball onto Punisher's head. And if he doesn't have a shield, he just explodes. He just dies instantly. It's an incredible one-for-one counter ultimate, one of the best in the game. And it also shuts down support ultimates, right? Like, we've already established most impactful, most powerful ultimates in the game, support ultimates. Getting rid of them is extremely valuable. And especially Cloak and Dagger, Magneto kind of shits on them. Magneto's meatball is a one-shot on most characters, right? Cloak and Dagger has 250 HP. And when she's in her ultimate, she moves really predictably. He moves in straight lines, right? So it's really easy for Magneto to line up a very clear shot. And then he'll one-shot her. And the ultimate gets cancelled. Incredible one-for-one trade. Great versatile defensive ultimate. And just very, very powerful. If you're thinking about learning a tank, Magneto is really, really fun. It's a little bit tricky. You kind of have to juggle a few things. But very, very fun. Very, very satisfying. Highly recommend. His only downside is immobility. He's very slow. He can't really maneuver around the map. He can't really contest high grounds. He can't contest off angles the same way that Doctor Strange can. So he is very good, but on certain maps, especially Domination, where there are a lot of off angles, he struggles. He struggles to keep up with a mobile opponent. He struggles to contest them on certain maps. So he's slightly reliant on his team to fill the weaknesses in his kit. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Ha, Hela. This was a bit of a head scratcher, I'll be honest. And I'm still not confident that I made the right pick. But Hela being on 250 HP makes her so much easier to deal with. The threshold between 250 and 275 HP is massive. There are a lot of characters whose combos, whose sort of like big plays, do between 250 and 275 HP. So adjusting her health pool actually has a massive impact on how quickly she can be killed by some characters. She still has an absolutely ridiculous kit, right? She's got an invulnerability, mobility, escape with her shift. She's got a CC. She's got burst damage. She's got precision hit scan. Probably still the best primary fire in the game compared to anyone else. Just does ridiculous amounts of damage. But she is so much easier to address. Hela is no longer the rampant monster that she used to be. She's a lot more tame. She's still very, very good. Don't get me wrong. But she is a lot easier to deal with. And actually, a lot of the dive characters that are ranked quite lowly in this tier list do really, really well against her. She struggles to stay alive against those compositions. What can she still do? Right, so she still hit scan. She still absolutely shits on anyone with low mobility who happens to find themselves out of position or unable to keep up with their tank line. So Iron Man, Storm, absolutely demolishes them, completely uncontested in her ability to shut down those characters. She still has a CC, so on cooldown is still really, really, really good at shutting down flankers like Starlord, like Psylocke, like Black Panther. Just stun, click, dead, turn brain off, win fight. Brilliant character. She still has burst explosives, so can do a lot of poke and can put a lot of pressure on an enemy's frontline. She's still got insane long range abilities, so capable of deleting shields or taking out constructs like Namor's squids better than most other characters in the game. She still has a two-shot. She still does have a two-shot, but it's harder. This two-shot is still harder to pull off than it was because it's no longer headshot, body shot, two-shot. It now has to be two headshots. So it gives characters a little bit of extra wiggle room to stay alive in a fight against her. What else has she got going for her? Her ultimate. Okay, I'm shocked that this ultimate didn't get addressed or nerfed at all in the slightest. She jumps up into the air, completely invulnerable whilst it's being cast. The only character that is invulnerable whilst it's being cast for some reason. Jumps into the air with 1,000 HP and then throws exploding skulls that do 150 damage each. And she gets wall hacks whilst she's doing it. And she gets wall hacks. And then if you do manage to delete the 1,000 HP pool, she just returns back on the floor where she was before on the same amount of HP. So extremely safe ultimate. Very, very difficult to shut down. Impossible to punish because she just can't die. And will force out a support ultimate unless you have a Doctor Strange who is able to, you know, jump in her face and be annoying. And what else? She's got a res, right? So in team shooters, the ability to stay in a fight is probably the most valuable ability that you will find, which is why supports are rated so highly currently. And a resurrect on a DPS character is kind of ridiculous, right? Thor and Loki both get rezzed if she secures a kill. And let me tell you, Hela is getting kills. Hela is securing eliminations and rezzing her teammates. And being able to revive a tank and a support simply by killing an enemy is a really powerful passive. Although Thor isn't played that much at the moment, I would not be surprised if we saw a certain Thor, Hela, maybe Captain America meta slowly creeping in to the way people play. Absolutely ridiculous. We've already touched a little bit on why Hela has fallen from grace, and the biggest thing is she is now a lot easier to deal with. Psylocke and Starlord are now a lot better at shutting her down. Storm can kill her in 4 hits, which she wasn't able to do so before. Sorry, 3 hits and a secondary fire, which she wasn't able to do before. So, a lot easier to address. And also, with Captain America and Venom's buffs, even though they're still not great characters, they're very, very effective against Hela specifically. Alright, Winter Soldier. I might be a little bit biased here, right? Winter Soldier is my favorite character. I pushed a GM with him. He's my most played. I love this character dearly. And he does have flaws. But his kit is absolutely insane. Right, so let's start with his damage. His primary fire does the same amount of damage as Hela. They both do 70 damage on primary fire. Hela does have the seasonal buff that makes it a little bit better. But being able to contest what used to be the strongest DPS in the game in terms of raw damage output is insane. Winter Soldier can 2-shot squishies with 2 headshots. Winter Soldier got a health buff, and his survivability and brawl is now really, really good. He absolutely shreds tanks. Before, Hawkeye was the big, right, pick this character, delete tanks, right, or, you know, Wolverine. And now it's Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier's damage on a frontline is insane, and his primary fire does AoE. So anyone behind that frontline will also take damage, which will make his ult charge quickly, which might result in accidental kills. So his damage is ridiculous. The damage drop-off isn't that significant on his primary fire. He can still one burst any squishy in the game if he hits 3 headshots from any distance. So still decent at longer ranges, although that is arguably his biggest flaw. His cooldowns and abilities all reload his gun, so his sustained rate of fire is very, very consistent. And talking about these abilities, they are some of the most powerful cooldowns in the game, right? So first of all, he's got a hook. The bionic hook is nasty. The bionic hook on a squishy guarantees a kill, right? It's impossible to escape from. It will result in a kill if you hit your follow-up shots. He's got the Trooper's Fist, which can also displace, right? So the hook pulls people in, the fist pushes people away, and you can combine this in a way that you can pull someone out of the enemy front line and then push them into your back line. And they just explode after that. There is no safe way for them to get out. They just die. It's just instant death. The hook is also a hard CC. Your punch is only soft CC. It doesn't stun people. It just prevents them from moving briefly. They can still use abilities. They can still, any ability that is active stays active. But the hook is a hard CC. It stuns people. It blocks ultimates. The amount of times Doctor Strange has jumped in the air and gone, bye! And then I've just hooked him and shut down the ultimate. It's ridiculous. He can do this with most ultimates in the game. It's got a 20-meter range, which is kind of nuts. So very, very, very good character for frontline brawling, and very powerful if you can keep on track of enemies' ultimates and when you think they might want to use them. Let's talk about his ultimate. I think this is probably the thing that people know most about the Winter Soldier, is his ability to just stomp an entire team over and over and over. And I'm going to be honest, this ultimate is the weakest part of his kit. I think a coordinated team will understand how to shut down a Bucky ultimate properly. And if you're not really careful, you will just die before you get a chance to finish someone off. The risk with his ultimate is you have to full send your own character, right? It's similar to Storm, just a little bit more risky, where you have to physically be inside of the team to get value, which means you're very easy to focus down. It's also usually gonna force out a support ultimate, which means that you just do nothing. But instead of the other characters higher up on this list that also force out support ultimates, the difference is Bucky then can't disengage. He's got no mobility apart from the Trooper's Fist, which is very, very limited mobility. So even if the best case scenario is forcing out a support ultimate, you're probably just going to die anyway, and then leave your team in a 5v6 with an active support ult. So it's very difficult to succeed with. It's very risky to use. And it's also buggy. The map that comes to mind is Hell's Haven, however it's called. The Hydra map, ironically, Bucky's own map. You should not play this character on that map. All of them are all of the sets on that map are very buggy and will prevent his ultimate from hitting in most places. The stairs and the ramps completely mess up the hit registration. So he basically just can't use his ultimate on those maps. You're better off playing a different character. And if it weren't for those bugs, it's not the only map. Any map that has stairs or ramps will throw off the hit reg. So because of the risk involved with his ultimate and because of the bugs, he sometimes performs a little bit worse than average. It's a shame that I have to admit that my favorite character it can drop down into the A- tier and be a little bit worse than I'd like because of some things that aren't in my control. But hopefully these get addressed soon and I can update this tier list and justifiably put him a little bit higher. And next, the final spot in A+ goes to Groot. Now, I, for a very, very, very long time, actually had Groot a spot below. I had him in the top of A-. I only had 5 characters in A+. But some things have come to light which have made me aware that Groot is actually... He's got a lot of potential, right? So, the first thing is, Groot does not die. Groot does 2 things. He does damage, and he stays the fuck alive. And that's it. And, you know, sometimes you don't want anything different from your frontline, right? Who gives a fuck about utility? I am staying rooted, pun intended, in this spot. I am not leaving. I am doing insane damage if you push me. I am not moving. And if you get too aggressive, I'm just going to wool you off from your team and then tickle you in the face with my giant tree trunk. So, Groot is very, very good. The reason I'm hesitant to raise his rank is because that's all he does, is stay alive and deal damage. His damage isn't as consistent as Doctor Strange's or Magneto's. His survivability isn't as consistent as Doctor Strange's or Magneto's, and is less self-sustainable. It relies on your supports to keep you alive. But he is generally very immovable if he gets set up with a good team. So we need to talk about his limited utility before we talk about his before we talk about the thing that makes Groot really good. Groot's abilities are walls. That's it. Groot's abilities are a wall that gives him more damage and a wall that gives him more health. It's really not a joke when I say he does two things and he does them really well. But it just means that your team is a little bit more vulnerable compared to if you're playing with Magneto and Doctor Strange. But that being said, Groot can solo tank and he can comfortably frontline. But the lack of utility, the lack of being able to provide for your team really makes him a little bit lower than the other two tanks already spoken about. But there is something that Groot has going for him, especially considering the triple support meta. And that is his ultimate. This is probably the best tank ultimate in the game, the best Vanguard ult in the game. Really, the valuable thing is it keeps people in place for enough time that an AoE ultimate can one-shot them. It immobilizes as many characters as you hit in one place and groups them up so that Namor, Moon Knight, Bucky, anyone with big AoE ultimate, or I mean even anyone with insane DPS output like Punisher, can just demolish through a support ultimate. It doesn't matter if they're getting 800 healing per second. Did you know Moon Knight out damages that? Moon Knight on a Groot ultimate can out damage 800 healing per second. So Groot is very, very good. Groot is a commonly seen counter tank pick to a triple support composition, just because of how useful he is at shutting it down. And if Groot is playing against a triple support meta with a Moon Knight, he is easily able to be considered an S tier pick. But that is reliant on your team, of course. And so, on average, is still very, very powerful A+ character. Although, we need to talk about his slight map dependency. Groot is a monster on convergence maps. So, Wakanda, Tokyo 2099, and Clintar. Very, very good, especially on defense. Although, on maps where it's less linear, so domination, Groot kind of struggles. He can't be in multiple places at once. He's got 0 mobility. And so when there are lots of different entrances into a point, lots of different ways that an enemy can engage, Groot kind of struggles. And he sort of has to settle for setting up on point and being vulnerable from all angles, not being able to provide cover for his team, which isn't the best. And I think this dependency on maps makes him really, really suffer and can make him be considered slightly worse than some of the other tanks on this list, which is why you'll see his variance is quite large. So if you are considering picking up Groot, just be aware that you will have a bit of a harder time playing on some of the more open and less linear maps. And starting off A- with our favorite resident trickster, Loki. Loki is a very, very solid support. He feels like very middle of the road, very I don't want to say mediocre, just solid, just a solid average support. Not too strong. He doesn't fall short with his abilities. He's not impossible to counter, but if played well, is very, very solid. Loki is a very good third support to have in your triple support composition. He's a very good second support to have. He doesn't really struggle, and he can only really improve from where he is currently positioned on the tier list. There's no getting really much lower than where he already is. And that's because of a couple of things. So obviously the strongest supports in the game have the strongest support ultimates, and Loki kind of just, follows suit, right? He can copy any ultimate in the game He can copy Lunar Snow, he can copy Cloak and Dagger, he can copy his Sue, and then he can just use a support ultimate. So he's got his own unique kit and can also still use one of those really powerful ultimates. You know, if there's a Lunar Snow and you're a Loki, just copy her. Your team gets 12 seconds of invulnerability, right? And then your Lunar Snow can pop ult, it gets another 12 seconds. 24 seconds of no one on your team dying is ridiculous value. I know it's for 2 ultimates, but still, absolutely insane. And that's just talking about his ultimate. You don't have to copy a support ultimate, although it is probably recommended. But you can always copy something like Groot, something like Moon Knight, something like Starlord or Storm. An offensive ultimate that can help your team to guarantee kills. Very versatile, can fit into mostly any composition. His primary fire does very good healing and very good damage as well. So he can heal and damage simultaneously. It's very nice. The clones give him a lot of mobility with his teleport, and also increase his lethality and healing to absolutely ridiculous numbers. The only sort of limit to his healing is that it's projectile, and so Storm or Iron Man or someone moving around quickly is quite hard to actually ensure that your healing is going to impact them. But for most of your team, you know, focusing on the front line, you're going to be absolutely solid. And then he's also got his invisibility, which is like, it's alright. It's not the best ability to use, especially because Loki is very loud whilst he's invisible. I think the best way to use it is to just give yourself an extra clone off cooldown, right? Like if you're getting a little bit shit on, your clones are dying a lot and they're dying faster than you can respawn them, just pop your invisibility and get straight back in the fight, and it will put a clone down exactly where you're standing, which is, you know, never a bad thing, having that extra option. But the ability that really makes Loki stand out above the remaining supports on this list is his healing runes. So Loki's runes, the regeneration domain, there's actually a little bit of a misconception over how they work. These runes will do 100 healing per second, which is already absolutely phenomenal. But in addition to this, any damage received while standing inside of these runes will actually get converted into health. 30% of the damage that a player takes while standing inside of the rune's area of effect will be converted into HP, which means that as well as them doing ridiculous amount of healing, it's actually impossible to die whilst standing inside of a Loki rune. And this ability is on a 25-second cooldown, so you're gonna have it available every single fight, realistically. It shuts down ultimates, it shuts down aggressive pushes, it can keep everyone alive. Very, very powerful ability. The only thing about Loki is he's a very, very setup and lockdown style character, kind of like Namor, where he excels on defense, where you can position your clones in areas that are difficult to be hit, in areas you can just place down and then forget about them and just draw out insane value. But when you try and put him on a more open map, like on Domination, or when you try and play him on Attack, you'll start to notice that you'll constantly be needing to reposition your clones, which means that you'll be less able to permanently keep them up because your cooldown usage will be higher. So it's a lot easier to counteract him. This inconsistency and reliance on certain maps to perform at the highest potential that he has just means that I don't feel right placing him any higher than A-. Don't get me wrong, he's a really, really solid character. He has the potential to be one of the strongest characters, one of the best supports in the game, but it's just not going to be every game. You're not going to see it every match, and you will notice a considerable difference between your attacks and defenses with this character. The Punisher. So, right. Punisher's in a very, very weird spot. He is simultaneously got one of the most standard kits out of all of the characters that just feels like it's missing something, and yet at the same time can be incredibly valuable in a variety of different team comps. He's got very, very good long range damage, almost able to contest Hela at long ranges. He's hit scan, so where you shoot, the bullets go, which is, you know, always nice to have. He's great at long range. He's even better at close range with his shotgun that can one-shot people. But there's a few things that hold Punisher back. And for the most part, it's not necessarily something that's bad about Punisher. It's just that other characters that do similar things just do them better. So we already mentioned his primary fire, his weapons. There's not much to say. Standard gun guy, right? Like, it's very, very good. His passive that lets you see people through walls is very nice, especially because most of the environments in this game are breakable. So you can keep tracking someone through a wall, and you might end up securing a kill on someone that's low HP just by following them through the wall. His disengage, the smoke grenade, is a very, very strange ability. Sure, like, it can keep you alive a little bit if you use it to escape, but I feel like the smoke does more harm than good because it also blocks your teammates. It blocks your teammates' line of sight, which can be very annoying and can be used against your team if an enemy is smart enough. I think the best way to use it is genuinely just do it for the mobility. Do it for the little jump that you get, the little boost of verticality. Because the rest of Punisher's mobility is very weird. He's got his zip lines, right? But first of all, these are very, very buggy. They can only connect to certain surfaces. They can't connect to a surface if you are airborne, if you're jumping, or if you've been knocked up. So you can't use it to disengage then. The path that you take when you're on a zipline can be interrupted. Whenever you exit a zipline, you keep momentum and also get launched upwards. So it's very strange mobility that is very unreliable and difficult to use mid-combat. So you should prioritize using your little jump for in combat and using your zip lines outside of combat for positioning and for returning from spawn faster. The zip lines are also really buggy, and it's very easy to get interrupted by the environment whilst you're on a zip line, which will cause you to jump off at the wrong times unwillingly. So just be careful of that. The bugs make it very weird. I've also had a lot of games on Punisher where I've tried to use my zipline to disengage mid-fight, and I've ended up shooting it at a wall 16 times and then just dying because it never activated. It's painfully inconsistent. His turret. A lot of people misuse the turret. The turret does AoE damage and is projectile, so it's harder to hit, but it does more damage and it hits multiple enemies. So the best way to use it is to just put it down a choke. Put it down any sort of corridor or doorway that you know people are going to have to walk through, and just fire. Just keep shooting. It's got 600 HP and it registers as a shield, which means that you can't get hit through it unless it's by a melee attack. So it's a very, very powerful ability to just put down and then kind of not think about. Although on attack, this ability doesn't really do that much. So again, his kit is inconsistent and just doesn't always get the full value that you want to see out of it. Another nice thing about his turret is it grants Punisher CC immunity, crowd control immunity. So stuns, displaces, anything like that won't affect him. And this works from the start of the turret animation to until you get out of it or it's destroyed. So you can dodge multiple ultimates, multiple abilities just by clicking E and starting that animation. Something else about the turret's inconsistency, sorry, let me just add this in here. The turret breaks if the environment underneath it gets destroyed. It just disappears, right? And so it's a very easy way to counter him if he's positioned poorly. And also, the turret has a it's got a full 360-degree horizontal swivel, but it's only got a 45-degree vertical downward swivel. You can't actually look that far downwards in the turret. So someone can stand underneath you if you're positioned on the high ground somewhere and take you out with zero risk to themselves. Very easy to stop the Punisher from actually playing the game if he doesn't be really careful. And also, Punishers, for some reason, are missing multiple brain cells and don't turn around when they're being shot in their turret. So, good ability, bad ability, very inconsistent. His kit is good, but everything he has is just a worse version of Hela. He's got less consistent mobility, he's got less consistent damage, a longer time to kill. The thing that makes him stand out, that could make him on par with these other strong, longer range characters, is his ultimate. His ultimate is actually nuts. Very powerful. It's the highest DPS in the game. And on top of that, it lasts 10 seconds, which is a very long time. And you get full CC immunity. You can't be stunned out of it. You can't be pulled away from it. You can't be slept. You can't be frozen. You can't be blocked. Like, it's very good. Shields aren't going to block it. You'll die through the shield. It will burst down the shield and then you. Tanks can't really stand in the way of it. It's just the ultimate click button, walk through entire team, force out multiple ultimates. And even then, Punisher gets a very good chance of being able to burst people through support ultimates regardless of what they use. So it's very nice character to have. Punisher also, a lot of people won't like that I'm saying this, but Punisher does well with a rocket. Yeah, I know people don't like rocket, but Punisher uses the team up really well, a lot better than Winter Soldier. Infinite ammo Punisher is terrifying. Infinite ammo Punisher does more damage than a Lunar Snow ultimate can heal. So it's lethal. The only thing is, it is immobile, so if it's used in a bad place, or if the team is somewhat aware, it's quite easy to just maneuver away from and force Punisher to move out of it if he wants to keep doing damage. But that all being said, he does have the flaws. You know, there's just the buffs he received were nice, but it's just a little bit less consistent than the other options. But still, very fun hero. Highly recommend if you are thinking of trying out a hit scan. Very solid, very standard. You know, you're not going to feel very lost with this kit, and a cool character overall. Next up, probably the most consistently mediocre average character you will ever find. That is Adam Warlock. He's middle of the pack. He's not got that much potential, but he doesn't do much worse, right? He's not very situational. He's very consistently average. So with a triple support meta, you would think that this is really Adam Warlock's time to shine, right? His healing is terrible at sustain. He cannot sustain heal, but he has incredible critical save heal on a 6-second cooldown. He has a team spare, a team save ability on a 30-second cooldown with the soul bond, the shared damage. If you hit your entire team with the shared damage, you can shut down a lot of ultimates, unless they're AoE and multiple people are getting hit. I have died as many times to a soul bond as I have been saved by it, but that's neither here nor there. His his real asset is the damage. Adam Warlock is like a third DPS, right? Like having an extra DPS, which is why you would think he works well with triple support. But the damage just isn't enough. He has a one-shot combo. He can charge up all of his secondary fire, hit all those shots, and then land a headshot. It does 300 damage. It will one-shot pretty much every squishy in the game. But it's just his ultimate, man. It's just his ult. His ult is so... Look, I wanna like this character. He's my most played support. But his ult is just so fucking bad. It's not that good. Why would you play a character that could revive your entire team when you can just play a slightly better character who can prevent the entire team from dying? You know? Like, why would I play Adam Warlock and let 5 teammates die only to revive them all on 100 HP and get wiped by a Storm ultimate if I could just play Sue Storm and click Q on the point and keep everyone alive anyway? Like, it's a very weak ultimate. It's by far the worst part of his kit. The best way to use it, honestly, is to solo res your tanks or your other support. If someone dies, if someone gets picked early, use the res, use your ultimate, genuinely throw it away just to get that one person back in the fight. That is the best way you can use it. And even then, I'd rather just have a different support on my team. The only saving grace for this character, which scores him this point, the spot on the tier list, is his passive. We've already established that having a resurrect in these kinds of games is extremely valuable. Being able to bring someone back into the team fight after they make a mistake. We talked about that with Hela. And Adam Warlock's is just more consistent. He will always be able to revive himself and stay in a fight if he gets picked. And this is a passive that he can extend to Mantis and Starlord, who are both very, very good characters. The only thing is, right, like, if you have Adam Warlock and Mantis on a team, dude, you're struggling. You're struggling. If you're duo healing Mantis and Adam Warlock, the passive that you get is probably not even worth it. They both have very weak heal in comparison to the rest of the support roster. But I feel like I've been really critical of Adam Warlock. I feel like I've been very harsh. Look, let me say something nice. When his heal is off cooldown, it is very powerful. Adam Warlock's heal does 285 healing to a single target, or does 95 to multiple targets. But it's the 285 to one target that is really important. With a snap of his fingers, he can put someone who is critical onto full health. It's pretty good. The cooldown is not great, but you know, that ability to look at someone who's about to fucking explode and just put them on full HP, it's pretty good. Adam Warlock has the best critical save in the game, and you know, it's worth it. If you like damaging, if you like DPS, if you like playing duelists, I recommend giving Adam Warlock a try. You might get on really, really well with him because, you know, most of what you're going to be doing is damaging anyway. So give it a shot. Oh, yeah, and he's hit scan. Being hit scan makes him very reliable to secure kills on high mobility characters like Iron Man, airborne characters like Storm, you know, Spider-Man. Makes him very good at shutting down divers. The Tickle Monster. Again, maybe a little bit of a controversial pick, but at the moment, Black Panther just struggles so hard against triple healer. He can't do damage fast enough to kill someone with 3 supports, right? Like if there's a Cloak and Dagger on the enemy team and you go in as Panther, you're not doing anything. You are not doing anything. You are not killing anyone. That AoE healing, nah, that's going straight into the entire backline. You're gonna dash 16 times, and then you're gonna be out of cooldowns, and you're gonna die. That's what's gonna happen. Black Panther, his survivability is worse. The current meta makes his damage worse. Oh, sorry, not worse. It just makes it less reliable. He can really only secure kills if he's got his ultimate up, so the rest of the time it's just farming ult. But because you're farming ult on the backline is farming ult off your damage, right? They're healing themselves. So you're getting your ult, but you're also feeding support ult. He just struggles. He just struggles. He's a flanker slash disruptor, which is the same as Psylocke or Starlord. Those characters can actually secure and guarantee kills if they play well enough. Panther just doesn't. He struggles a lot. Also, there's a bug with hit registration on Panther at the moment that prevents his dash from resetting. I don't know the specifics. I just know that it's a thing and it hasn't been addressed yet, which makes him a lot less consistent as well. And in certain compositions, he can be good. Panther into 2 supports is quite solid. It's, you know, you'll see a lot of success with it. But if either of those supports is Lunar Snow or Mantis, you're again gonna have a really hard time because of the CCs. If one of those supports is Sue, you're gonna have a pretty hard time because of the slowdown and the pushback. He just struggles. I'm not sure what changes I would suggest for bringing Panther back into the meta, other than just addressing the power of the support meta currently. He's not bad. He needs a little bit of love though. I miss my backline complaining about the rampant Panthers that we had in season 0. But you know, situationally can be very, very powerful, but again relies on enemy supports playing a certain way, playing a certain composition. So I can't justify putting him higher. Next, one of the more controversial opinions, I'm sure, the Hulk. Now, okay. Hulk could be the best tank in the game. It has the potential to be the best tank in the game. But that requires a lot of team effort. It requires a lot of other people using what you provide rather than just being good on his own. So Hulk's team up is arguably the strongest in the game. There are a couple of other really strong ones, but Hulk, the Gamma Iron Man, Gamma Strange, specifically Gamma Iron Man, is nuts. And if Hulk is not banned and you play Hulk Iron Man, you will shred. Iron Man with the gamma charge buff does 220 damage per second, which is so much. That's so much. That's as much healing as Cloak's ult does, right? So it's very, very powerful. It does a lot of damage. It's got a 20-meter range, which is insane. So I'm just talking about Iron Man. Let me get back to talking about Hulk. Hulk's team up is good. Hulk's team up is single-handedly enough to put him as the best tank in the game. But that is only if you have someone on your team that is able to use that team up ability, which is why Hulk's variance is just so wide. It's why he's so all over the place right now, because of how reliant he is on someone else. So what's good about actual Hulk other than just providing a really good team up? He's a really good off tank. The dive is nice. The jumps that you get into an enemy backline and then being able to disengage quickly is very nice. He's got decent damage. His shield is great at protecting your team or from stopping you getting burst down in your engage. He technically has 2 lives with Baby Banner coming out after Hulk gets defeated. So that's quite nice, right? if you get removed from the fight, you're not actually removed from the fight. You've got a chance to re-engage after a few seconds. Yeah, so his mobility is really good. And it's always funny seeing a Hulk jump into the sky, pull someone down to the ground, and just pummel them. I think his aerial shutdown is really, really funny and a very fun ability to use. He's also got CC, which is less powerful than some of the support CCs because no one else can target them, but that person will remain stunned until you hit them again or until it times out. So it's quite a nice stun. It can shut down ultimates, which is, you know, very, very solid. What else? He's just all around a nice tank to have. The problem is Hulk can't solo tank in the same way that Doctor Strange, Magneto, Groot can solo tank. He is exclusively an off tank. He can't really frontline. He gets value by jumping in, jumping out, jumping in, jumping out, and being a disruptor. So he doesn't have that much utility for his team other than the shield. But you know, as a second tank, Hulk is a very, very solid pick. He's not very map dependent. He can be played pretty much anywhere. But to be really good, he has to have an Iron Man. He has to have a second tank helping the front line. So he can really, you know, tear apart the back, do whatever he does best. His ultimate is very, very good. His ult is very strong. But in a match without an Iron Man or without another tank, his ult is really the only thing keeping him in A-. If it weren't for the two-shot potential of his ult, Hulk would be ranked a little bit lower on average, I think. Also, not to mention the fact that this character just gets banned a lot. And again, Hulk gets banned not because he's annoying to play against or because he's that powerful. He gets banned because Iron Man is that powerful. Because a different character utilizes his team up well enough that it's worth banning the anchor. So, very weird position to put Hulk in, I know. It's strange to see a character that is easily hard meta being placed very, very middle of the pack, very average. But I stand by it. Hulk just isn't good enough on his own without the rest of his team. Speaking of someone that really needs a good team, oof, new character, Mr. Fantastic. Now, okay, I've seen a lot of opinions about this character, all right? He's not D tier. Come on, dude. Like, he's not that bad, right? Like, I don't believe any character in this game is D tier. I think that's very silly. I think all of the characters have potential and have a place in this game. But I think Mr. Fantastic is good. Okay, I think Mr. Fantastic is a solid fucking character. If I see him on my team, I don't think, ugh, the same way that I do when I see, like, I don't know, fucking Spider-Man or something, right? Unless it's Necros, but, you know, that's different. Even he doesn't. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Mr. Fantastic doesn't die. He is basically a tank, right? I mean, he's not. He's a DPS, but his survivability is through the roof. He's got so much HP. He gets so much bonus HP. That's a big thing. He's got AoE damage. He can hit multiple enemies with most of his abilities. He has a slight displace with his secondary fire, right? If you land the skill shot and then reactivate it on the same person, you pull them slightly towards you and you throw them up in the air a little bit, which could be nice for, let's say, you've got like a Winter Soldier. They can then hook them in when they're out of position. You know, he's a solid character. He does a lot of damage in his big, bulky form. He can quite literally survive anything, including a Scarlet Witch ultimate, which, you know, why didn't he do that in the movie? When he's, like, squaring up and waddling towards you, nothing kills him. It's just a free 300 HP. It's kind of like a Magneto bubble. Except he gets to send it back. Like, I don't know. I don't have anything bad to say about this character. You know, he passionately grabs both your shoulders and then thrusts into you and gives you shield. It's great. It's great. Oh, no, I do have something bad to say about the character. He's when he's big and stretchy, like, yeah, he does more damage, but he's kind of really vulnerable. He can't use any of his cooldowns. He gets the extra HP, sure, but he's got a bigger hitbox. It's really easy to get focused down if you're not careful when you're big boy. So it's kind of not a good thing. I think you get more value when you're not using it, unless your team starts to push in. You can walk in with them and use the damage. The other thing, fantastic. Yeah, his ultimate does 450 damage. That isn't per hit. His ultimate does a maximum of 450 damage. It does 50 damage on the first hit. Then it does 60. And then it does 70. Then it does 80. And it does 90. And on the 6th hit, it does a whopping 100 damage. That is a grand total of 450 damage. It's weak. It's really weak. It's really bad. It's probably the weakest ultimate in the game. I would say in a tier list of useless ultimates, you have Scarlet Witch, you have Peni Parker, you have Rocket Raccoon, and then you have Mr. Fantastic. Adam Warlock is down there too, right? And then you have Mr. Fantastic. It's a really, really bad ult. It's so... It makes you very easy to hit, very vulnerable. It's same issue that Bucky has. You have to full send your own character to actually deal damage, and it's such piss poor damage, and it's such a high risk. It can be really funny to use in a corridor, because then you're just ping-ponging. There's no delay. You're just ping-ponging up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. But yeah, it's a really bad ultimate. It's it's really bad. And like, there's nothing else. I have nothing else to say about this character. He's so he's just your average middle-aged dude, right? Like he's just a guy. But he's not bad. He's not bad. He's solid. I think Mr. Fantastic deserves a little bit more love. I think he's such a funny character, and he just stays alive. He just stays alive. Oh, against Wolverine as well. He's got a really good matchup against Wolverine, because Wolverine does damage percentage based off of max HP, and Mr. Fantastic's max HP is 350. So he's got the survivability of a tank without getting fucked by Wolverine. So there's that, I guess. like if the enemy team is running a Wolverine and you have 2 tanks, swap one of the tanks for a Mr. Fantastic. You're fine, right? You're getting the same value and you're not getting bullied. There we go. Nothing else to say. All right, Thor now. Okay. I might be wrong about this. I think Thor's latent potential is actually okay. I think that Thor is going to power creep the meta. I think there's a few characters on this list that are going to slowly, over the next couple of weeks, maybe months, just get better and better and better and better and better and better and better. I think Thor is one of those characters. I think Thor's team up with Storm and Captain America is really good. I think it's the best team up in the game. Not to mention he also has the additional team up with Hela, which makes him really good. But I think Thor's anchor team up is the best in the game, and we might be seeing a Thor meta in the near future. So I might be wrong about this current position. I guess we'll see. So, what does Thor do well? Thor is an assassin. He fucking runs in, does a shit ton of damage, runs out, stays alive. He's a very good off tank. It's kind of like does the same thing as Hulk, right? He jumps in, he jumps out, he jumps in, he jumps out. He does a lot of damage. He's not really capable of frontlining the same way that the other tanks do, but as a dive assassin disruptor, Thor is really powerful. His awakened mode gives him 200 bonus HP, and it enables a one-shot burst. If you connect all 4 lightning barrages, then it will one-shot any squishy character in the game. It does 300 damage, which is really nice. He's got a displace with his dash. He's got range with his throw. He can stay in the fight just by constantly getting hits with his abilities, giving himself health with his abilities. He's got a slow and an AoE damage. It's nice. And his ult also got a buff in the Season 1 patch where he can no longer be stunned out of it, which is really nice. It's solid. I can't say anything bad about Thor other than he's not very good on the front line and is better diving in and out. And if he doesn't have another tank to help in the front line, he kind of struggles a little bit. And Thor's forehead is in 5 different postcodes. Thor's forehead is so big, and if you play against a Punisher, a Hela, a Namor, a Winter Soldier, anyone like that, you will be dinked into oblivion if you aren't careful. Thor's headshot hitbox is so massive that he's really easy to kill. And if you aren't using your cooldowns properly, then you can get burst down very, very quickly. But that's about it. Very solid character. Don't sleep on Thor. Watch this space. I think we're definitely gonna see Thor becoming a menace in the meta. I think people are starting to figure out how he really works, how his kit fits in well, and how he's able to disrupt teams. And I think some very, very solid Thor players are gonna come into their own and start pushing up the ranks and showing people like how powerful this character can really be. I'm expecting a shift in the meta when people start moving away from the triple support. I think it's going to be interesting. The first character in B+, we have Rocket Raccoon. I don't know why people hate Rocket. Like, he's not that bad, right? I think he's got really good healing. I think he's got AoE healing. He can heal multiple people at once. The Resurrect is really good. He gets a res every 40 seconds. And this is something that you can save, right? You don't have to leave it to the risk of just having it down and letting a flanker kill it. You can just place it down when you see someone gets low. And then if they don't die, you can just pick it back up again. So it's a very, very nice ability. The risk can be mitigated. His ultimate is the fastest charging in the game. It's a shame it's shit. It's a shame it's really the worst support ultimate in the game. Because it charges quite quick. But yeah, the damage boost, it's I don't know. It's yeah. I think it's fine. It's laughable as a support ultimate. It's hilarious even. But you know, the character's still not bad, right? If you manage to kill a Rocket Raccoon, you're doing something really well, or they are doing something really, really wrong. Okay, like Rocket is such a survivable hero. You got your wool scamper, you've got your dashes, you've got your float. Just he stays alive and he just pumps constant sustain healing. He's got shit all for critical save compared to other heroes, but he can keep people alive. So in a 3 support meta, he actually does really well. You know, he can just hold that secondary fire, keep everyone topped up, and then when the fight actually starts and people are taking more damage than you can heal, that's when you start going in with the machine gun. That's when you start killing them before they can kill you. Yeah, like, I guess pros of Rocket, right? He's a heal bot. He does a shit ton of healing. Cons of Rocket, he's a heal bot. He doesn't really do much else. That's it. That's it. His team up with Winter Soldier and Bucky, that's the same character. His team up with Winter Soldier and Punisher is very nice. Like, infinite ammo is lethal, especially on defense. But yeah, like Rocket's solid. Rocket's solid. Very, very comfortable pick if you just want to turn your brain off and do some healing. You don't need to worry about much. Give it a shot or don't. Just stop the Rocket hate, man. Stop hating on my boy. He's just a little guy. You know who's not a little guy? Magik and the demons that she throws at people. These fucking dude, they do so much damage. I feel like people still don't really know how to play Magik. They're still playing her wrong. They're still using the big big spin. The demons do 250 damage. They do so much damage. Like, they can be killed, sure, but they do so much damage. So yeah, Magik is, I would say, the second hardest character in the game behind Spider-Man. I think she's very difficult. But she's got a lot going for her. She's got one of the best brawl sustain abilities in the game with her passive. Anytime she deals damage, she gets bonus HP. That's nuts in its own. That's very, very good. Magik has multiple one-shot combos. Like a lot, actually. She's got the basic one, fully charge M2 into a dash into an M1. That will do 310 damage, I think. It will do a lot of damage. Then she's got her melee animation cancel one, where you go M1, melee, right mouse, M1, melee, E, M1, melee, and that will one-shot someone. Like, she's got a lot of a really big learning curve and an even bigger skill ceiling. But I think Magik is actually really good, apart from the difficulty. I think she's a very solid hero. She gets iframes from her dashes, which, you know, any character that has that is automatically going to be very, very solid. Although, because of how janky the portals can be, it's less consistent than, say, Starlord or Namor. So she's a little bit lower down, but it's still a nice thing to have. I can see, similar to Thor, now that people are sort of figuring out a little bit more, I think Magik's gonna start being a little bit meta, some sort of dive / brawl meta, right? Like Thor, Captain America, Magik, like a lot of these close melee characters. And the reason that I'm saying this, again, watch this spot. The reason I'm saying this is because when you're running melee characters, you aren't dealing damage outside of proper team fights, right? So in the poke fights, or whilst trying to engage, your team is taking lots of damage, which means your supports are gaining ult charge, and your team isn't doing much damage, which means their supports aren't. So that's sort of, again, everything revolves around the healers, but that's sort of what I'm seeing. And Magik, with her one-shot potential and with her incredible sustain, Magik might be the next meta. Maybe. She's got a lot of potential. People just haven't learnt her yet. Although Magik on attack is a lot harder than Magik on defense. Magik on defense is really powerful. You can wait around corners, hide in little spots, and then just ambush someone and one-shot burst them and then disengage with your immortality. But on attack, because she doesn't have great mobility, it's a lot harder to put yourself in positions where that assassinate is possible. And because of that, I think on average right now she's just a little bit less useful than other brawl flank type heroes like Starlord and Psylocke, because they're just easier. They're so much easier. There's less risk involved. There's better engage, disengage potential. But like I said, watch this spot. Magik might be really good. Magik might be really, really good. And speaking of a character that might be really, really good, we have Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl is in a really weird spot where she could be really, really powerful, but she could also just kind of feed and not do anything, right? She's got very, very good damage. She's got great burst potential. She's got CC that can be used twice on cooldown. She's got okay vertical mobility. Her ultimate, since the buffs, is actually useful now. It actually does damage. Like she's right. Let's talk about the bad things first. Let's switch it up a little bit. The ult change is nice, but it now only has 300 HP. It's really easy to kill the squirrels. It's very easy to kill the squirrels and to shut down the ultimate before it does much. That's one of the bad things. Squirrel Girl does a lot of damage, which means that she feeds enemy support ultimates quite a lot. You know, especially if you're just shooting at the tanks. Sure, you're doing decent damage. Yeah, but Sue, Luna Snow, Loki, you know, all of these characters are going to be out healing the damage that you do on a big HP pool. And they're just going to have ult so quickly. They're going to have it so quick. And other than that, you're quite diveable. Squirrel Girl, she's got CC, sure. But it's just a little bit immobile compared to other DPS. And doesn't have the most going for her if there are multiple people. Now, that being said, her damage output is very, very high, like we've already mentioned. You know, and if you can arc your shots or bounce them in a way that they're hitting squishy characters or they're hitting multiple characters at once, it's actually really nice. It's very nice to have on your team. Although, again, this works better on defense. She's a very, very defensive, shutdown chokes kind of character. So when you're constantly moving, constantly pushing, she's a little bit harder to guarantee that value. But on defense, she can be an absolute monster. I'm thinking like Convergence, where there's normally one big main choke that an enemy has to push through. Dude, she is nuts. Smash like. Squirrel Girl is very... a lot of potential. And I will say as well, people are still learning how to play this character. People like haven't quite adjusted to how to use her since the buffs that she received, because no one was playing her before, so people are still learning how to play the character. But very high potential, but again, slightly inconsistent because of map dependency. Talking about inconsistency, god damn, dude, Hawkeye. Oh, this character is so annoying. Okay, I'm gonna start by saying no, I don't think Hawkeye is good. I don't think Hawkeye is a good character. I never thought Hawkeye was a good character. I think Hawkeye is actually really, really bad. I think he's badly designed. I think he's bad to play. One-shots in these kind of games need to be managed really carefully. And that can either be not making it a true one-shot, right? Like, a lot of characters have one-shot combos. But Hawkeye is the only character that has a one ability, one shot, etc., etc. Dink dead. He is the only character. And that's just not healthy for the game. It's also really inconsistent. It's not something that you land often, right? Especially since his nerfs, Hawkeye's range has been demolished. Hawkeye can't sit at the back of a map and get triple kills, quad kills just by spamming arrows down a choke anymore. He actually has to be quite close to the fight to be able to get the full value and to be able to activate the one-shot. And let me tell you right now, if that one-shot is not activated, if it's not charging up the arrow fully, you're not doing anything. Swap to a different hero. Play Widow. Like you are actively not doing anything on Hawkeye. And it's this inconsistency and how terrible Hawkeye's kit actually is, other than the one shot, that makes him so bad at the moment. He's so weak to dive. He's got 0 disengage. He's got low HP. His ultimate is pretty shit. He's too much nothing, right? It's like picking Hawkeye, right? Is like going to a kid's birthday party and beating a piñata and there's just nothing in it, right? It's like, it's all bells and whistles. It's all really exciting. And then you dig down into it and it's like, there's nothing there. Absolutely nothing. I mean, the only thing Hawkeye does well is random one-shot headshots. And like, that's not consistent. That's not consistent. That's not gonna happen a lot. It doesn't happen a lot. Hawkeye doesn't get banned in competitive anymore, at least not in my lobbies. And Hawkeye also doesn't get played, because anytime he does get played, he just gets fucking bullied. He just dies over and over. I had a Hawkeye that went 4 and 14 in a Diamond 1 lobby the other day. It's like, really, dude? Like, come on. Even I don't play Hawkeye. Even I can hit more than 4 random headshots in a game. Like, he's so inconsistent. He's so inconsistent, and I think that's the problem with a lot of these next few characters. Is the inconsistency? Is that they can be really, 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 really good, but that's like only if you really cherry pick the scenarios and you really look at like the absolute best case scenarios for these characters. And that's the same right here with Moon Knight. Moon Knight can be very powerful. Moon Knight's ult is one of the only things in the game that can go through shields, can go through support ultimates, and can kill entire teams through multiple stacks of healing without being blocked. And that's a really, really nice thing, especially in the current meta. But it has to be with a group. It has to be with a group, because otherwise your ult is just going to do nothing. People are just going to move away. The moon haunt! It's like 2 steps to the left and you're fine. Like, it requires another character. Not even that. It requires another ultimate usage to be worth it, which makes him very inconsistent. But anyway, that's one thing I wanted to get out of the way. It's nice combo. It's a very powerful combo, but he doesn't do enough on his own. So, what does Moon Knight do well? Moon Knight has very nice AoE. He hits multiple people at once a lot. He does a shit ton of damage to a lot of different people, but it's never really lethal. The damage that Moon Knight deals is never lethal. It kind of just charges ultimate, right? Moon Knight becomes lethal when the supports start dying. That's when Moon Knight really, really shines. So if you don't have a flanker that's getting those picks, that's securing those kills, or distracting the healers, Moon Knight doesn't really do anything. Moon Knight also needs to play off angles. He has to play off angles to be able to play properly, which leaves him quite vulnerable and with no real, like, safe disengage or mobility. He's got his jump and his hook and his glide or whatever. Have you seen? He turns into a croissant. He is so big and massive and easy to hit and slow when he's flying. Like, he doesn't have a safe disengage. Moon Knight is just very easy to kill. And considering he has to play off angles, he's very easy to shut down just by knowing he's there, right? And that's the problem. That's the problem. Moon Knight can't do much against a team that knows what's going on. And in the top lobbies, you're going to have people that know what's going on. You're going to have people that know how to play Moon Knight. And outside of the Groot one-shot combo, Moon Knight just doesn't really do much. And, you know, that's fine. He's fun. He can get value. Not every character needs to be some top of the rank stomp, right? So Moon Knight is in a good spot, I think. I think Moon Knight is in a very, very good spot. I think more characters should be put into a position where they are niche but powerful and good at doing what they do. There isn't really a character that can match Moon Knight for his specific role. He just struggles a little bit compared to the strength of the other characters. As of right now, is the only character other than Squirrel Girl that I have considered to be B- at their worst. And let's start talking about the B-. Starting off with yet another hot take. The Wolverine. Now, okay, look, hear me out, okay? Wolverine is... we were right, okay? We were right the first time. Wolverine is actually dog shit. Wolverine is really bad, right? But, same as Moon Knight. He does one thing. He does it really well. He kills tanks. Now, luckily for Wolverine, that ability to demolish the front line is impactful enough to make him stand out, to make people think that he's actually better than he is. Have you ever tried to 1v1 any other character on Wolverine? Have you ever tried to 1v1 like a Punisher or a Spider-Man? You can't. You can't. Wolverine is really bad. And that's not to say that he doesn't have potential, right? Wolverine against 3 tanks or more is wet dream, right? Like, you're having a great time, okay? Wolverine against 2 tanks is pretty damn good, right? Wolverine against 1 tank is arguably even better, because suddenly it's a 5v5, and the difference is their team doesn't have a tank, your team doesn't have a DPS. So it's so difficult to rank this hero properly because of how weak he is, but how strong he is at the same time. Like, I feel wrong putting him anywhere else on the tier list just because of how reliant he is on the enemy team to have certain characters. So, Wolverine shits on tanks, but Peni Parker shits on Wolverine. Magneto can kind of counter Wolverine, right? So if they have those tanks, you're not going to be doing as much. And Wolverine shits on tanks, sure, but one of the most powerful supports in the game at the moment, Sue Storm, demolishes Wolverine. Both the push and the pull, well, that's the same ability. Both the push, pull, and her shift make Wolverine drop the person he's tackled. So Wolverine suddenly doesn't get as much value. So he's just... I don't know. I feel like people are going to hate me. People are going to hate me for where I've put Wolverine. But right now, Wolverine is shut down so easily. Despite him getting banned a lot, I still don't think he's very... I mean, hell, I play tank. I ban Wolverine. If I'm ever planning on playing tank and competitive, Wolverine is fucking gone from the lobby. Because I don't want to play into that. Because it's so annoying. That doesn't mean it's good, though. That's the thing. I think people mistake annoying and powerful for the same thing sometimes. Like all the low rank players that complain about Iron Fist and Scarlet Witch. And it's like, annoying and good aren't the same thing. Wolverine is annoying. Just because Wolverine gets banned a lot doesn't mean he's like really, really, really good. He's just annoying. And he relies too much on the enemy team doing certain things, playing a certain way, to be considered a proper S tier, despite having the potential for it. Oh, Spider-Man, you poor boy. I wish I could put Spider-Man higher. I think Spider-Man is a really fun character. I really wish the extremely high skill cap characters also had the same high potential in game, but Spider-Man's just lore accurate. He doesn't kill anything. He does so little damage. He's so easily shut down by the current top characters. And even with the team up, he gets a little bit better with a Venom team up. He actually gets a reliable one-shot combo. But even then, that's on a 30-second cooldown. And Spidey is very easy to shut down. Even the #1 Spider-Man player at the moment, Necros, even he doesn't play Spider-Man. Like, if you've ever watched a stream or watched a video, there'll be like 5 minutes of Spider-Man gameplay before he just goes, "No, this character's dog shit," and swaps off. Like, Spider-Man struggles. Spider-Man needs a little bit of love. And it's not necessarily damage he needs either. Spider-Man is just too slow for his speed. His abilities recharge way too slow. His mobility is on an insane cooldown for some reason, even though I really don't think it should. I don't see a problem with having Spider-Man, I don't see a problem with Spider-Man not having a cooldown on his mobility. I think it would make him a lot better. He's just very difficult to secure any sort of value with. That being said, a good Spider-Man will probably be able to take the attention of the backline for long enough for your frontline to make a proper push. But even then, that's like, you could do the exact same thing with Psylocke or Starlord and actually get kills as well as distracting the backline. So yeah, I wish I could put Spider-Man higher. I really do, but he needs some changes. This is, I think, now finally into the part of the tier list where these characters' base kits need a little bit of love, need a little bit of tuning up. Although I say that, and then we move on to Cap, and I actually think Cap's in a very strange spot. I mentioned earlier the Thor team up is really good. Captain America Thor team up is really powerful. A lot of people complain about how low Captain America's damage is. It's not the point. That's not the point. Cap is decent even with low damage. Just people don't really play him right, and people like stacking up at the moment. But add the Thor team up into that, and Cap suddenly has kill potential. A lot of it. Cap has a lot of kill potential. And so the thing that makes Cap decent or better than some other characters is he is a very annoying and a very immovable threat to the backline. If you aren't 6 stacking against the Captain America, your backline will be harassed into oblivion. Cap will run around in circles, will drive-by punch your backline in the jaw multiple times, 17 consecutive punches to the face, and will then drop kick them back into spawn. He is very annoying. But the thing is, with the AoE heals at the moment, grouping up as a 6 stack isn't unviable, right? It's not a terrible idea. It's not the worst thing that you can do. And so Cap just kind of really struggles to get any sort of value. The way you want to, like Cap is kind of like a shy Batman, right? Where you want to be stalking in an alley, and if you see one bad guy, you fucking jump him, right? And you shove the shield where the sun don't shine, and then you get out before anyone sees you, right? But the second there's more than one person there, that's when you just kind of run away, right? And you stay away from it. So, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Captain America has potential, is a very funny character, but like with the current meta is just so weak, especially because it removes some of your frontline potential. Although, you know, Captain America's mobility is the best of any tank mobility in the game. He's very fast. He's very difficult to catch, even though for some reason Jeff the Landshark is faster than him. He just doesn't fit into triple support meta because you will never get a pick. His utility comes from annoying people in this meta rather than killing, kind of like Spider-Man. And you're just better off with a different tank that can actually secure kills or can actually take space. Although that being said, you know, Cap's ultimate is pretty nice. Cap's ultimate is like a budget support ultimate, right? It makes people faster. It gives people shield. It's pretty solid. It's not the worst thing in the world. See, the thing is, I don't even think Cap does need changes. I think the supports just need a little adjustment to their power. And if that happens and dive becomes a little bit more viable, expect to see a few more Captain Americas in your game. This character is far from weak, just struggles with the current strength of other heroes. Oh God, Peni Parker. Yeah, can I not talk about this hero? I don't want to talk about this hero. She's fucking all over the place. She's everywhere. She is simultaneously really, really good and really bad at all times forever. Like, okay. First things first. Peni is very, very, very powerful on defense. Peni is potentially one of the best tanks to have on a hard defensive map, like on Convoy or Convergence maps. Peni is really, really solid. Peni is very difficult to play into because there are places that she can put her mines where you have to run the risk of getting damaged by it before you're in a position to take it out. She's very immovable on her webs. She gets bonus speed. She gets bonus HP. Like, on paper, everything that she has sounds really nice, but is extremely map dependent. It's not only extremely map dependent, it's extremely objective dependent as well. If you're attacking, Peni is useless. If you're attacking and you play Peni, you're throwing. Like, there are very few characters in this game where I am comfortable saying if you play them, you are throwing. Peni on attack, you are throwing. There are infinitely better options than Peni on attack. But there's always a but. This is why I hate this character. There's always a but. Peni's mines can one-shot support ultimates, which immediately make me think, well, shit, she's not that bad. Yeah, fine, but she doesn't do it reliably. She doesn't do it a lot, right? It doesn't happen often. And then, right? There's another but. But Peni shits on Wolverine. For some reason, the tank shits on the tank shitter. But like, again, she doesn't do it reliably. She does it on cooldown of her mines. And if the Wolverine plays smart around it and waits for her to go out of position a little bit, then she just kind of gets shit on. And then there's a but. There's another but, right? There's another but. There's but. Oh, I hate this character, right? She gets the 3-second stun. A hard CC on a 3-second cooldown. It shuts down so many ultimates. It shuts down so many dives. It's really good, right? But there's another but. You shoot her, she dies. She's so bad. She's so good, but she's so bad. And I hate her. Don't even get me started on it. Spider Tail! It's so bad! Such a bad ultimate. Oh, such an inconsistent character. She's all over the fucking place. She's simultaneously the best, worst tank in the game. And, like, oh, I don't know. I harbor a lot of hatred for this character, if you couldn't tell. I think she needs some... Okay, first of all, her ultimate needs a buff. Her ultimate is stupid. Her ultimate is really bad. I think Peni needs a survivability buff with a slight nerf to her burst damage potential. And that would bring her into more of a tank role than she's currently in. But, you know, I don't know, dude. It's Peni. It's Peni. She's a noob stomper. Low rank, she's gonna fucking demolish. High rank, she's gonna fall over. I hate this character. Anyway, Venom. Somehow worse than Peni. Venom really struggles. Venom really struggles, not because of anything to do with his kit. Venom just struggles against other characters in this game. Venom's kit on paper, again, really, really nice. Very, very cool concept for a dive hero. Good damage, great survivability, decent ultimate, right? Good brawl sustain. The problem with Venom is how easy he is to shut down, right? Lunar Snow will get played in this meta, or will get banned, but will get played. Namor will probably get played. Winter Soldier. Psylocke even shuts him down, right? Mantis. Any of these characters, especially ones with CC, make Venom unplayable. Venom, again, is a little bit of a noob stomper when people don't know how to play against him, but as soon as you get past Platinum, into the ban comps, where people start actually being able to pick characters that they don't like to go against, that's where Venom starts to really struggle, because that's at the point where people understand the game on a better level than the rest of the player base. And the problem with Venom is he gets shut down by CC so hard. Venom's shields are really good, right? Venom's shields are really, really nice. The problem is when you engage and you get to 400 HP and then you get CC'd by a Mantis, by a Lunar Snow, and then you get insta burst before you have the ability to put your shield down and heal yourself back up. That's why Venom struggles, because he can be burst down before he can activate shield, or, you know, the alternative, or even Hulk can stun him. The alternative is you activate your shield and then you get CC'd, and your shields only last for 5 seconds, and during those 5 seconds they're ticking down naturally. And Lunar Snow stun, Mantis sleep, these abilities last almost the full duration of your shields, at which point they'll almost be gone and you'll be back on 0 HP. So like, for example, Lunar Snow, Absolute Zero, it lasts for 2.7 seconds. So almost 3 seconds. Almost half of your shield will be gone by the time that wears off if no one shoots you. Mantis's sleep lasts for 3.5 seconds. So yeah, Venom gets shit on really easily right now. And also because of Sue Storm being so powerful, dive is just not consistent anyway. And Venom really struggled. But again, doesn't need anything addressed in his kit. It's just the sheer power of the characters currently running the meta compared to him actually being a bad character. But still the worst performing tank on average because of this. And now we come to the worst characters in the game. And that is to say, worst characters in the game, not bad characters. Again, I want to reiterate, I don't think a single character in this game is actually bad. I think either people just haven't figured out how to use them yet, or they just struggle against the current strongest characters. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. I see him too, okay? Don't worry, we'll talk about Iron Man in a little bit. So, Jeff the Landshark. Yeah, Jeff is the weakest support by a really, really long way. And it's not even close. But, that being said, Jeff stays alive. He's a slippery little bastard. Jeff can live for such a long time. You know, they always said sharks had a long lifespan. And this one in particular is very difficult to hit. The only thing is, whilst he's staying alive, he's also not providing any team utility. Whereas there are other characters like Luna Snow who can stay alive and heal simultaneously. So, yeah, Jeff's a little bit weak. He's got the highest healing output at 150 healing per second, which is ridiculous. But the problem with that is it's only good for heal botting. There's no AoE. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of AoE, but it's really only good for heal botting. And to get the most potential out of Jeff, you want to be flanking. You want to be playing the shark like a little fucking backliner and getting behind the enemy, taking sneaky 1v1s, which you can win, and then providing support from angles that you're not going to be contested on. With two supports, Jeff has to focus on healing. He has to focus on healing more so than flanking and getting the value from his kit, which isn't very good. Although when you put him into triple support, like there's potential, right? There's potential. But he's still just struggles because of his role. His kit is designed for something that he is not enabled to do unless there's already two supports. And at that point, if there's already two supports, you're better off playing Mantis. You're better off playing Adam Warlock. You're better off playing DPS Rocket. Like there's just better options. There's just better options. He doesn't heal as well as some of the other characters. He doesn't damage as well as some of the other characters. And his ultimate is kind of very easy to counter. There is one thing I will say, and that is that Jeff is very good at shutting down other support ultimates. Because if you hear, it's time to put on a show, and then the enemy team just starts going, like, you can't stay in that Luna Snow ultimate. Luna Snow might be CC immune. You're not. You're not. You're going to get swallowed. If you stand in the Luna Snow ultimate, it's the same with Invisible Woman. If you stand in the Invisible Woman ultimate and Jeff ults, you gotta leave. You gotta leave or pray to God that you have something that grants iframes or verticality, because otherwise, you're getting swallowed. That is the one saving grace about Jeff that makes him not entirely insufferable in high rank competitive, is that he can actually shut down enemy support ultimates quite well. And that's also something that he has in common with the next hero, Iron Man. And dear God, look at that ranking. Wow. Oof. Iron Man. This character's fucking stupid. This character's so dumb. This character is simultaneously the best, yet one of the worst DPS in the games. And it's all because of one thing, and that is the Hulk team up. Having Hulk enabled puts Iron Man suddenly as the best DPS in the game. Having Hulk banned means that Iron Man is kinda trolling and not worth the play, right? And like, it's such a weird spot to have Iron Man in. Especially because he's so easily shut down by Namor, by Winter Soldier, by Punisher, by Hela, you know? And, like, I don't know. I wish he was more consistent. I wish he didn't rely so much on the Hulk team up. But he does. He does. And that's, you know, that's earned him the spot in the C tier. The fact that he's so useless on his own and so powerful with another character on his team. But, you know, it is what it is. So, Iron Man. Literally the best DPS in the game. Literally the worst DPS in the game. Too many things have to go right to enable his full potential, which is why he's so low. And the one other thing he has going for him that makes him valuable outside of the Hulk team up is maximum pulse. This ultimate is actually kind of nuts. Having a one shot on command is really, really nice. Support ultimates like Cloak Dagger, Luna Snow, Invisible Woman, someone that you can just walk up to and demolish Jarvis solo ult, the single mother of 3. Like, being able to shut down those ultimates at the cost of a DPS ult that isn't very good otherwise is quite nice. Especially in the triple support meta. And that's the only nice thing I have to say about Iron Man outside of the Hulk team up. Very, very inconsistent. Although I guess his mobility is nice, right? I guess his mobility is nice. Although I don't know why this changed. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this. Something else about Iron Man, he's so fucking loud. I swear this was never a thing in season 0, but Iron Man is so loud. He's so easy to hear when he's using abilities, when he's flying around the map. The audio cues are excessive, and it makes it very difficult to play sneakily with Iron Man. You kind of have to play frontline, because otherwise you'll just get shut down really easily, because it's really obvious where you are. Again, I don't know if that's a bug, if that's an intended change, but I don't recall it ever being that loud in season 0. Iron Fist. All right, Iron Fist is a little bit of a noob stomper. Iron Fist doesn't do that much. He runs around, he gets shot, he dies. Best part about his kit is either his mobility, which is actually quite nice, or his parry, which blocks all instances of incoming damage. But that's not enough. That's just, it's not enough. It's not enough for a DPS. He needs more. He needs more love. Iron Fist's parry can enable him to make some kills if a team is unprepared and actually panic shoots him. Or if he uses it smart and blocks an incoming projectile, then he gets extra health, he gets the damage reduction, and increased attack speed. But otherwise, it's just the attack speed, and he's very easy to shut down. He's only got 250 HP. Although he can use his meditate to engage at 300, but even then, he doesn't have enough sustain to fill the role that he's supposed to be. He's the weakest melee character. He's kind of just a worse Captain America. He is really just a worse Captain America. If you understand his kit, he's very easy to shut down. And Iron Fist needs a lot of love before being able to rise up and challenge some of the better heroes. This is a character that it isn't about his it isn't about the teams, it isn't about the strong characters. Iron Fist just needs some changes, and that's difficult to do when a character is a noob stomper, because you can't justify buffing a character that absolutely rolls bottom lobbies. He just doesn't do enough to compete. That's it. That's all I have to say. I think there's maybe some potential with the fact that he is melee and being able to disrupt, especially if you partner him with like a Spider-Man or a Venom or a Captain America or some other strong dive hero. But even then, you're committing a lot of resources into something that distracts rather than guarantees picks. And that's not very good. So Iron Fist is remaining at the bottom of the tier list. But who knows? I could be very mistaken. People might be learning how to play this character like absolute menaces. You know, maybe there's a passive that no one read about where actually, if you pick Iron Fist, you can one-shot Hela by punching her in the back of the head. Who knows? You know, there's some things. You know, people might figure something out. But very, very medium. Like, he's not bad. He's just not good enough. Not bad. Just not good enough. And speaking of not bad, not good enough, that is actually this next character's catchphrase. Scarlet Witch. Not bad. Not good enough. Scarlet Witch does 60 damage per second plus 3% of a target's maximum HP. So, Scarlet Witch against the tank will do like 75 damage. even if a tank is being constantly healed by the weakest support in the game, or rather the lowest healing per second in a game, Rocket, it will take roughly 7.5 minutes to kill that tank. Yeah. It will take a very long time to kill that tank. And even a squishy being healed by a Rocket Raccoon. Against a squishy, you'll do 60 damage, plus 3% of 250. You'll be doing, like being generous, 68, 69, 70 damage, right? Yeah, your damage is getting out healed by a rocket against squishies. Your damage is getting out healed by a rocket. You're not killing anything. You are not securing a kill. Scarlet Witch is so close to almost being the worst character in the game, but she has a CC. And having a CC means that you can shut down ultimates. And even if that's the only thing you do all game, you will have done something. You will have done something right. Scarlet Witch also has a Magneto team up, which is really nice because Magneto is quite powerful. And it's a very good team up. It makes Magneto really, really powerful. It's kind of worth the 5v6. But like, that's the only good thing. These are the only good things I can say about Scarlet Witch. She's so bad. She's so bad. Can I say anything more bad about her? Yes. Her ultimate ability is click Q to die. Oh, pure. Okay, and then she just fucking explodes, and then she dies, right? Like click Q, get focused. So many abilities shut it down, right? So you've got freeze. Doctor Strange can ult. Doctor Strange can shield. You've got Cloak and Dagger can fade and dodge the entire team. You can be pushed away by Sue Storm. You can be killed by normal Storm. You can be killed by Starlord. Starlord can dodge it with iframes. Psylocke, you can be killed very easily by. Psylocke can run away with dashes. Namor can two-shot you. Mantis can two-shot you. Mantis can sleep you. Magneto's got a shield. He can kill you. He can push you away. He's got a shield for his teammates. Hela can two-shot you. Hela can stun you out a bit. Bucky can two-shot you. Bucky can stun. You see where you see where I'm going with this? Every single character in the game has a way to shut down a Scarlet Witch ultimate. Oh, but AC, what about the portals? What about the port? That is a 3-minute cooldown. That the portals are on a 3-minute cooldown. I promise you, there are better ways to use them than maybe getting 2 picks with a Scarlet Witch ultimate. Like, I wish this character was cooler. I wish she was stronger. Sorry. Because I really like the Scarlet Witch. I think the Scarlet Witch is a very cool Marvel character. I wish, like, I don't know, they did something weird, right? They replaced her primary fire with her secondary fire. So she actually just did AoE blasts, right? Like throwing orbs. And then they could replace her, they could turn her beam into some sort of like activatable AoE, some sort of big thing that latches onto people like Venom. And then does damage over time and sucks in the life force of all these people. And if you get enough energy, then your primary fire does more damage, etc. Like something to make it so that she doesn't get hard countered by every source of healing in the game. She's in a bad spot, but at least she has 1 or 2 saving graces. That means she is not in the dead last spot. And that still belongs to Black Widow. Oh boy. Black Widow is the is the epitome, the embodiment, the personification of jack of all trades, master of jack shit, right? She can do everything, and she does none of it well. She's a flanker. She's a ranged poke. She's got CC. She can brawl. And she does none of it well. She can't one-shot, so sniping is very ineffective, very inconsistent, unless there's airborne or out-of-position targets. Her flank is actually kind of decent. Her mobility is the only thing keeping her an actual pick in this game. Her mobility is very nice. Her CC can guarantee kills on people who are alone. Only people who are alone. That's it. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. She's got a kick with a 15-second cooldown that she can use to one-shot combo someone. If they're alone. If there's no one else there. I guess the only other nice thing I can say is she's hit scan. Hit scan is always good, especially in a meta against Storm and Iron Man. Again, I wish she was better. I wish she had better potential. But the thing is, there's no healthy way to make a sniper a one-shot sniper in these games. And if you make a sniper that can't one-shot, they're just not good. Overwatch is proving this with Hanzo. Marvel Rivals is proving this with Black Widow. Snipers that don't one-shot are not worth running. Are consistently really bad. And Scarlet Witch at least has the team up, right? Black Widow's team up is that she can hit people if she can see them. That's the team up. The team up is if she can see someone, she can hit them. Like, yeah, that's how the character. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how that's supposed to put. Yeah, her ultimate. Okay, right. Her ultimate's not actually terrible. I think a lot of people just misuse it. Her ultimate does maximum 170 damage. I just looked that up. No, that is not enough. Wait, that's really bad. Oh, I take it back. Her ultimate is shit. It only does 170 damage. Sorry, I'm looking at the Marvel Rivals website. It only does 170 damage. I thought it did at least 220 if it charged up. Okay, her ultimate does 170 damage. The slow is nice. The slow is okay. Oh, it only 170 damage. Yeah, okay, we got a new contender for the worst ultimate in the game. Easy fix, right? Easy fix. Make the ultimate immobilize people rather than slow them. Make it so that they're like actually stuck and can't leave it for the duration. And suddenly, boom, useful ultimate, not a dog shit character. I mean, she'd still be pretty bad. I don't know. If they reduce the cooldown on her kick, I think Widow suddenly becomes a lot better. But that's a big ask on buffing this character again. I don't know. For now, she is comfortably staying at the bottom of the tier list. Again, I chat a lot of shit whilst I was recording this. Any character in C tier is still viable, right? At any rank. I just think any character in C tier, even B minus at times, any character in C tier is gonna be really hard pressed to perform in Diamond plus lobbies. Apart from Iron Man, that's a whole nother story, but Iron Man without the team up, yeah, you're fucked. You're fucked. Anyway, that is about it for the Season 1 Marvel Rivals tier list. Be interesting to see what sort of changes get made to the characters in the mid-season patch. The devs have confirmed that after 6 weeks, there will be another set of patch notes, another set of changes for characters, as well as the release of The Thing and the Human Torch. It'll be interesting to see how that impacts the current tier list. Although I'm probably going to wait until Season 2 before creating another tier list like this. But if it is something you would like to see, please consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel. Let me know how you would change any of these rankings. Please be nice. I spent a lot of time on this. I spent a very long time designing it, thinking about it. I didn't spend a lot of time scripting it. I was winging this. I hope it wasn't that obvious. And I hope it was still an enjoyable watch. If you made it this far, shit, dude. Do something with your life. What? You've just watched multiple hours of talking about Marvel Rivals. Are you okay? You want a hug? Are you good? Like, I get it. Like, I'm sure you're doing fine. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for making it this far. And I'm sorry I put Jeff in C tier.